Hey, all you fasting fanatics out there, Dr. Don Clum here with Insulin Friendly Living. Now is time to go into some of the details and the specifics of the process of the muscle rebuild after a fast, or what I call the anabolic rebound that can happen due to fasting if it is prepped, planned, executed, supported, and reinforced well. If you notice, that was 4 phases of a complete fasting cycle: the prep and planning. How do we ramp up to this thing? What state are we in when we go into it? That is the prep and planning phase. Then you have the support phase. The support is, how am I going to support myself through it? How do I define it? What do I need in case I need to bend versus break the fast? And how do I know when I'm done? That's the support. And that can also include the people in a group like this, in a program like we have, or just someone in your life, an accountability partner, a coach. That's me out here. I could be that for you, but it doesn't have to be me. It can be anybody that you want to include in the circle that is part of your support. Makes sense? And then we have the actual fast, which is, and when all things considered, the least consequential part of it, but it has to be done. It is the most necessary. Funny how that works. Let's see if I can make it make sense. And then we have the part after the fast, before your next fast, as you roll in to do another one. And yes, it is a good idea to do another one. And hopefully this will explain why. That is called the reinforcement phase. You have to keep the benefits that you just created from your fast, because they are not guaranteed just because you didn't eat for a number of days. That's a tough one to swallow sometimes. So when you come off the fast, your lifestyle, what you eat, and everything you do before you roll into your next one, and yes, you should always have a next one that you're looking for, is crucial. All right, let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Overall, when we're talking about fasting, we're talking about this overall complete process. We are talking about recycling. I call it the recycling and replacement system. Okay, we do not repair. I know that's a hard one to believe. We do not repair. Cells do not repair. They don't heal either. We do not heal. The process overall, when we look at it over time, we call it healing, and I'll explain that. What we do is we recycle and replace through the process of autophagy. Autophagy. Some people call it autophagy, autophagy, whatever you want. I call it recycling, okay? Autophagy literally means what they say, self-eating. Eh, Not wild about that, and you'll see why. It's kind of a dark side of the concept. So recycling, it's also what is known as detox. If you're going to detoxify, if you're going to do any kind of detoxification, if you want to detox, any way you put it, that's the recycling replacement system. That happens in the repair state, when we're in the deep fasted state, and we go through the prep and planning, support, fast, and reinforcement, 4 phases of a complete fasting cycle well. All right. And then we have regeneration. That is what leads to the concept or the illusion of healing. It's really regenerating or regeneration, growing anew. And what do we have on the screen here? We have autophagy. Autophagy, I tried to make a little dump truck, like a garbage truck there. You can see the recycling different canisters in there. In the back of that, those aren't surfboards. Those are mitochondria. And then I have a cell that's on top who's been overworked, who is staying at his post past his retirement time and really should go retire, sit on the beach with a Mai Tai fan and enjoy retirement, AKA should be replaced. Okay. And then up there, I have the oxidative stress process with that free radical right there, leading to inflammation. If you're concerned about inflammation outside of a direct trauma, any chronic long-term inflammation, systemic inflammation that one talks about, thinks about, or has, is talking about the oxidative stress accumulation leading to inflammation. That's how it happens. And it gets into every nook and cranny of our bodies, cells, tissues, and everything inside and in between. I have the LDL particle up there. Why do I have that? Because it's very, very important. It's a school bus. It carries cholesterol. The LDL particle, the number on your test, is not cholesterol. It is a carrier. It's the vehicle. It tells you how many vehicles of cholesterol are in your blood. But what's important? What's important are the actual cholesterol kids in this example that are on the bus. How many kids are on the bus? That's the number that's important. When you're just counting the buses, you don't know if they're full of 50 kids or one kid on each bus. All you know is how many carriers. Wrong test, wrong interpretation for our health. And you'll see an entire video series. I did one in the last group you have access to, and I'll do one in this group as well about that concept. And I'm doing a whole series on it called The Great Cholesterol Confusion, or The Great Cholesterol Myth. There's a couple of names. I'm still tossing them around. Down in the right-hand corner, you have the HDL. That is a dump truck, and it has inflamed cholesterol in there. HDL is what we call the good cholesterol. The good cholesterol is what gathers up all the burnt out, broken, malfunctioning cholesterol particles and cholesterol pieces that are in our system and takes it back to the liver to be recycled through the process of autophagy. It is a very I guess we can say a very basic level of autophagy is going on all the time. That's why we want that HDL number to be nice and high. The LDL number, the actual carriers of the kids of cholesterol in this picture, don't tell us much. Not that important until we know how many kids are in there, or the particles, as in a particle count test like the NMR or other ones. Doesn't tell us a whole lot. Don't go making lifestyle decisions based on a gross number, no matter what your, well, I would say doctor, but that's probably not the best thing to say. So I won't say no matter what your doctor says, but that's what I'm thinking in my mind. But don't quote me, obviously. So, and then in the bottom right-hand corner, we have mitochondria. Mitochondria as in the strength of them, as in the quantity of them. Both of those together equal your energy output or your metabolism quality. Mitochondrial numbers and their actual strength is what's important. And these are all affected and involved in the autophagy process, which is AKA recycling or replacement system of our body that we call detox, regeneration, and healing. One more slide. Let's take a look. Actually, I got a couple more here coming. So get comfortable. What do we have here? This is what happens when we stop eating. Within 2 to 8 hours, we will enter into the recycling, replacement, and repair system of the body in the fasted metabolic state. It doesn't happen just because you're not eating. That depends on your metabolic fitness and your fat adaptation. I have information and I have videos on explaining all of those, but basically you have to get in metabolic shape to go in and out of the fasted state, to leave that fed state and shift the metabolism to what we want. And depending on your level of fitness, your experience with this, how well you do it, how well you prep and prepare, as well as support, execute, and then reinforce your fast makes all the difference. What we have up on the top are the senescent cells. I have them pictured there in the same picture with the dump truck, and I have it blown up right below. Those are cells that are working. They come to their retirement date and they don't go on retirement. What does that mean? Every cell in our body has a time clock. It has a genetic time clock. It has an agreement, a contract, a term of service within this body that keeps us alive. And when they get stressed, when they're not working well, when they're overworked, then they lose their perception of time, so to speak, and they stay on past the date that they should. Why? Because they're stressed out. Why? Because they maybe haven't fulfilled their life goal as a cell yet, and they can't leave until they're told, right? I don't know. They're waiting for the gold watch at the end of the cellular rainbow here so that they can retire. But the bottom line is they're working past their due date, and that's a problem, metabolically, health, and otherwise. And down below, we have, again, the weak mitochondria. When they are weak, they don't work well either. And when they don't work well, not only do they not put out the same number of energy units that we use, the ATP, but as they do produce that lower level of ATP, they produce a whole lot of smoke and grease and byproducts, and they dump waste all over. So not only less power, but less efficient and causing more cellular debris, biomass, stuff that we don't want to accumulate in our body. That's how our junkyard, our internal junkyard, gets full. And if you remember, cancer cells use the junk in our junkyard to build their fortress. We don't want that. We don't want them to have access to that. We don't even want them to get to that point, because those cells are senescent cells. They are cells that aren't working well, that have stayed past their retirement and are just trying to basically survive. That, in combination with lots of raw materials to help themselves out, leads to a cancerous rogue cell, which we've talked about. So what happens? We also have this process of the inventory. This is the analogy that I use, that when we are fasting, the body first goes, oh, okay, we're not eating. We got nothing coming in. Let's halt the presses. And it goes into preservation mode. It will preserve your lean body mass. That's why it won't start to break down lean muscle tissue or your muscle when you start to fast. It'll say halt. And how does it do it? It does it by increasing human growth hormone by like 300% anywhere within 12, if you're really good, to 36, 72 hours later. But it will happen, okay? That human growth hormone says stop breaking down muscle. Why was it breaking down muscle? It's not because we're not eating. Is it because we were eating? When we're in the fed state, we're in breakdown mode. We're breaking down what we've eaten, breaking to pieces, getting into the body, but we're also breaking down parts of the body to go through the same process. So when we stop eating and the body flips that switch, it says stop breaking down our lean muscle in our body. If you still have stuff in your gut, that's still going to keep going, but the overall systemic breakdown mode will be halted. Why? Because there's nothing coming in. We've switched states. We're now switching over to the fasted state, repair state, or the recycling state. What that does is it starts to take inventory. All right, nothing coming in for a while. We're taking a look. What do we got? How do we use? How do we keep this thing going? All right, we're going to use some recycling from over here. We're going to move this person from that department over here. We're going to start doing it. It starts to get very, very efficient. All hands on deck. And as it does, it's got some bean counters in there, taking some inventory. Okay, well, hey, that's not working too well. We're going to have to work on that. Make a note over here. Oh, we need more of these cells. This output is not acceptable. Okay, make a note. Oh, look over here. Look at our reserves. That is terrible. We're going to have to slow down the use of that, change that model over there so that we don't use that and use this system over here. Make a note that we need more of that, right? That's what it does. Takes inventory in the entire body. And it also takes an inventory of what's going on in these in the DNA within our entire body, within the nucleus of our cells. That's what you see right there. And it is looking for things. It's all right. What's on? What's off? How is it going? Is it hot in here? Is it oxidative? Is there an oxidative stress level? Is it working well? Are there mutations? What are they doing? Is everything on that's supposed to be on? Is everything off that's supposed to be on? And it starts to check things out. It clears out debris like it does everywhere else, but in particular, it's taking a particular focus there on our genetic code, where we stand. Part of that code I'll go into in a second is our telomere count, which is very important. That is our genetic time clock. That is what tells a cell to retire, and that's what basically can predict the future of your longevity if you dare get it tested. And then down below, we have a protein pre-order, because when it's going through the inventory, when it's taking those notes, it says, okay, our brain cells are doing well, but they're not communicating too well. So we need to grow some dendrites, some parts of these cells to connect them together so they can talk more effectively. Cool, noted. It's going through here. The liver is getting broken down and used because a lot of its cells are worn out because we've been blasting that liver in the fed state. So it's taking them out and says, okay, we're going to need some new liver cells in there. And it's going around and it's taking a look at the skin. Wow, the skin is really taking a beating. They've put a lot of cosmetics on it. Maybe you've been out in the sun. Maybe you dare put sunscreen on, which is killing those cells and causing problems. So it takes an inventory there. Remember, you have an entire hormonal cycle of system like the HPA axis in our body within your skin. 75% of women's estrogen, 50% of men's testosterone is made in the skin. So there's a lot going on there. After menopause, up to 100% of women's estrogen is made there. Very important structure, an entire cycle. It's taking inventory of what it's going to replace and what it's going to take down. Very important. That's part of what gives us a fasting glow when we're fasting, and when we refeed, tightens everything up. That loose skin, or what do they call that? The turkey neck. That this is people told me. This is not my label. Goes away. That's why when people work with me and we work through fasting, and they lose triple digit weight, they don't need to get their skin taken off because it gets inventoried, taken down, and replaced according to the body's need, not our cosmetic desires based off of some other kind of weight loss. We'll just put it that way. All right. So it's looking also to see what needs to be turned on. What's not, what do we need in this environment? Where are we at in the world? What are we eating? What are we breathing? What are we touching? How are we moving? And it starts to create an adaptation needs list. Pretty cool. That's going to come alive when we refeed again. And so in that inventory, the protein starts to get ordered. All right, we're going to, like we said, we're going to need those skin cells. We need keratin. We're going to need what's this, the skin thing that everyone's talking about? The protein. It'll pop in my head. It's a simple one right there. As far as that go, and we need elastin in there. Oh, we need liver cells. Okay, we're going to need these type of fats, these kind of triglycerides. We're going to need these kind of proteins. Very good. The brain cells, we need those dendrites. Those have to be this kind of cell. We need this kind of transport system, and so forth. Okay, collagen was what I was looking for. We need collagen for this and that and the other, and blah 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 blah. Pre-order. It's putting in its order. It's putting it on the wish list, so to speak, on that big online store that we all don't use and shouldn't use, but I do too much. And then what happens is, as we start to refeed based off of that inventory list, based off of that wish list, the body checks it off, and that food goes into our system and stimulates a tremendous amount of brand new baby cells called stem cells. See that baby down there? So that's a cell sucking that bottle. It's one ugly baby, but hey, it happens, okay? And they're like new workers. That's what's behind them. Workers right there. New workers, new brand new babies. They're like coming out of college. They know everything, and they think they're ready to conquer the world, and maybe they are. And they get sent to their places and purposes to do their new job. Maybe it was that dendrite in the brain to make those connections. It could go to the liver to reinforce the metabolic process that we were damaging over time, or it can go to the skin and be that collagen that keeps it all together, looking young, feeling young, glowing, and happy. Right? Whatever it is, it gets made, and billions of them get sent out into our body when we refeed well, maintain the lifestyle that supports them, because they have to like their new job. They are just like the new generation millennials out there. If they don't like it, they leave, they ghost you. Well, so will these cells. You don't plan this process right. You don't go through the 4 complete phases that we're talking about. Then they take off. It's a hostile work environment. You said the wrong thing. That's not my pronoun, or whatever it is. And they take off, right? We don't want to reabsorb all those. We want them to stay and become part of us, join the team, get tenure, whatever you want to think about it. And that's what will make us bulletproof. That's what that is in the vest. In the middle of the bulletproof vest. It'll make us stronger. It'll build our resilience. It will turn back the genetic time clocks, which are on the right in the telomeres. The telomeres, that's a shoelace right there. The green ends of the shoelace are the islets, right? The egglets. That's what they're called. You can look it up. It's called an egglet. I don't know why so many. The little plastic part that keeps them from fraying. That's what telomeres are on our DNA strands. It does the same thing, keeps them from fraying, keeps them from damage, keeps them nice and protected. That's why there is a genetic bulletproof vest over there on the right, and it can actually reverse our time clock. If you got that test I was talking about earlier, which is very expensive but can be tested, it might give you a genetic age that is older than your actual biological age. That hurts. That hurts. But through these processes and through this regenerative process, this replacement process, this autophagy repair process, fasting, refeeding process, you can get that time back. That's why there's an hourglass and there's a clock right there. Those are called telomeres. Not only that, but that inventory and that needs and that adaptative process that it went through during the fast is flipping on the switches that we need for survival and adaptation, and it's switching off any that we're possibly going to mutate or part of mutation. Pretty cool, huh? As part of the way that cancer can be prevented through this on and off cycle of fed and fasted state. Right? And then we have the proteins down there that actually get formed, get made, whether from the body through the food or a combination of both. Because remember, when we eat them, they're no longer proteins. They go down to amino acids, which then are like Lego blocks that go into our system and get rebuilt into the proteins we need, like collagen for our skin or proteins for our muscle. And it goes and it rebuilds what was lost. Muscles are a whole string of a series of different kinds of proteins in there. When we fast, we do not lose a single muscle fiber. The single fiber, we don't lose it. We lose proteins inside. We lose different mechanisms inside. We lose things like water. Muscles 80% water. We lose glycogen. We lose other things that give us a flat look, that make us look smaller. And if we have an ego like I do, I think, oh man, I'm losing my muscle, but I'm not. not a single muscle fiber. Because when we go through this process, we refeed well and we introduce the right kind of stimulatory environment, aka a muscle rebuild concept, or that muscle rebuild concept, as we're in the reinforcement refeeding phase, creates an anabolic rebound, right? And we're rebounding out of this deprived state into a surplus state, and we're going to build an upgraded system of movement, aka muscle on our body. Pretty cool. That's why we're doing it. That's the big picture in less than 20 minutes. Wow, if that was fast, watch it again because it felt fast on this end, but I'm trying to keep these videos as concise as I possibly can. But that's the process. We deprive our body. Our body goes into super efficiency mode, preservation, and then inventory. And then based on that inventory, when we come out and we have the right environment, it produces brand new cells to replace what is needed, to connect the connections, to build the organs, to take away bad cells, and to replace them with brand new cells, to reverse the genetic time clock, and to refill our muscle with an upgraded amount of protein and create that muscle rebuild, as well as the anti-aging and regeneration that we're looking through the process of autophagy, aka recycling, aka detox, aka regeneration, that come from going in and out of a well planned, executed, supported, and reinforced complete fasting cycle on and off as a lifestyle over time. Sounds pretty cool, right? I hope so. I hope you got something out of this. I know I went fast. I tried to make the pictures that would connect it all the best you can, but this is why we're doing it. This is what we're setting up. This is why we want to do it well, to get the result at the end. To get the result at the end, we have to start at the beginning with our prep and planning, and we have to roll into this well. We have to navigate speed bumps as they come. We got to stick with it and bend it versus break it to maintain that state, so that when we get the inventory set for our wants, needs, and goals, we refeed and it goes the way we want and it stays there and we keep it there. Weight loss becomes then more maintained, or dare I say permanent. Muscle rebuilding becomes higher quality strength, flexibility, and recruitment. Brain cells come for clearer thought, less brain fog. Organs clear out for decreasing metabolic syndrome and different conditions. And we are essentially growing a new body as we do this. That's the idea. I hope you got that from this. If it was fast, watch it again. I know I'm going to watch it. I'll see you in the group and I'll keep building on this concept. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me.